Welcome to another episode, everyone. The LA Crips were extorting rapper Eminem, and the LA Samoan gang stepped in and helped Eminem. They really saved him. We all know about this so-called check-in culture as it relates to Los Angeles, California. They had gotten their hands on Eminem and were taking it from him. Eminem contacted the Booya Tribe, Samoan gangs out there in LA. They stepped in and helped him get away with his life.
Aren't they like the first or the biggest Samoan rap crew all time?
Yeah.
And didn't they do security for Eminem a little bit when M used to come out to the West Coast? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you catch this? 100% Samoan. Lift up your shirt, bro. Lift up your shirt. Lift up your shirt. Show your tat. Look at that. Samoan.
I was like, what's up? Suge Knight scared of you. Suge Knight scared of you. And then everyone I talked to, man, is Suge really this, really that? I was like,
But when
I'm Samoan, man. I don't give I don't care. You King Kong, you Godzilla, you gonna get your beat.
He just likes the cigar, and it's shit about Suge. He liked the cigar, and he trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody outside. This is when I knew Eminem was real. It's like, don't give a man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real 50 outside.
Back in 2003, Eminem teamed up with the legendary Booya Tribe on their single 911. But this wasn't just your average rap collab, it had way more layers to it. The connection between Eminem and the Booya Tribe went way beyond music. For those who might not know, the Booya Tribe wasn't just a hip-hop group. They were deeply tied to the Samoan gangs of Los Angeles.
We all got some gangster shit coming this Saturday, man.
What?
And if you're familiar with gang culture, you'd know that the Sons of Samoa are no joke. They might come across as chill and easygoing, but when provoked, they're known to snap, and the consequences can be deadly.
Did you catch this? 100% Samoan. Lift up your shirt, bro. Lift up your shirt. Lift up your shirt. Show your tat. Look at that. Samoan.
Now these are the guys Eminem had in his corner, so when some gang members tried messing with him, you can guess how that ended. Badly for anyone who thought they could step to Slim Shady. Eminem even hinted at this in his verse on 911, when he rapped, "Everywhere we go, people know we roll deep as F40, 50 Samoans, they knowin' when Debo was."
Everywhere we go, people know we roll deep as 40, 50 Samoans, ain't knowin' when Debo was.
It's clear from that line alone that the Samoans had Eminem's back and they weren't playing. Even when Suge Knight tried testing boundaries with Eminem, he knew better than to push too far. This isn't just hearsay either. One of the Booya Tribe members confirmed it.
I was like, what's up? Suge Knight scared of you. Suge Knight scared of you. And then everyone I talked to, man, is Suge really this, really that? I was like,
But
I'm Samoan, man. I don't give a I don't care. You King Kong, you Godzilla, you gonna get your ass beat.
So yeah, if anyone thought about coming for Eminem, they were up against more than just his sharp tongue. The Booya Tribe made sure of that. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive in deeper. So back in 2020, Booya Tribe's nephew, Monster Gunja, spilled some wild details during an interview on an Australian radio show. He revealed that back in the day, his uncles weren't just rappers. They were also working as security for Eminem. And that job wasn't your typical stand by the door and look tough gig. Turns out, Slim Shady was being extorted by the Los Angeles Crips, and Booya Tribe stepped in to handle the situation. That's how that song Hip Hop is in a state of 911 with Booya Tribe. And Be Real came about. Paul Rosenberg, Eminem's manager, reached out because Eminem was getting extorted by some Crips. But Booya wasn't about to let that happen. They stepped in, protected Eminem, and in return, got a feature on that track.
And didn't they do security for Eminem a little bit when M used to come out to the West Coast? Is that correct?
Yeah. Eminem was getting extorted by some Crips.
Meaning that they're saying you can't come out here unless you pay us, or...
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. What happened to Eminem isn't uncommon in the industry.
Yeah, see, and that's how they go. They get to put it all out there on the internet. They say Eminem was getting extorted by some Crips. I don't know how these individuals here were able to stop it if this really were the case. I mean, I see the Samoan there doing the interview saying that Suge Knight was afraid of him and that everyone said that Suge Knight was afraid of him. And he said, well, I'm Samoan. I don't care. Yeah, well, Suge Knight is black. We fight the whole world, so he's tough too. He doesn't care.
Kind of extortion even has a name, checking in. Essentially, when a rapper or celebrity travels to a city, especially one with a heavy gang presence like Los Angeles, they're often expected to check in with the local gangs or street bosses. It's supposed to be a way of showing respect, like saying, hey, I'm in your territory, so let's keep it peaceful. But checking in isn't always about respect. It's often just glorified extortion. These gangs might ask for money, features on tracks for their local artists, or even business hookups. And if you refuse, there are usually consequences, and not the kind you'd want to deal with.
You better check in. Imagine, ain't some gangster Crip. Straight up. Crip. Straight up.
Some people see checking in as just part of the game. They feel it's a good way to keep the peace and ensure their safety when they're in unfamiliar territory.
Now, as I've said before, the checking in, as I know it to be, is indeed really just about respect and letting you know the proper areas for you to frequent if you're going to be out in the area, if you're going to be out in the city. And that's it. Just saying, hey, man, don't be out here wandering around thinking you know everything, thinking you know the layout of the city, that you can find yourself in a world of trouble. You may want to check in with us, individuals who are OGs in the city, and we can tell you where you should and should not go, etc. Now, of course, there are some instances where individuals use this sort of situation to their advantage and try to get features, as the narrator here said, on these artists' records and try to get money and whatever else. Yeah.
Territory. For some celebrities, it's like paying for an insurance policy so they don't have to look over their shoulder every 5 minutes, but not everyone buys into that idea. Eminem, for instance, wasn't about that life. He wasn't the type to bow down to these so-called rules, and when the Crips tried to make him, things got messy. That's where Booya Tribe came in. Being connected to the Samoan gangs, who are known for not playing games, they stepped in and made it clear that nobody was going to mess with their guy. And of course, once the Samoans got involved, the Crips backed off. This might also explain why Eminem never seemed scared of Suge Knight, even though Suge had a reputation for being one of the most intimidating figures in the music industry. The beef between Eminem and Suge doesn't get talked about as much as you'd expect, but it's one of those stories that reveals just how wild the music scene was back then. It all goes back to Dr. Dre leaving Death Row Records. When Dre signed Eminem and later brought 50 Cent into the fold, Suge already had bad blood with Dre. So when Eminem and 50 started making serious waves in the industry, they basically inherited Dre's beef with Suge. And Suge being Suge, he wasn't about to let it slide. He tried messing with them on multiple occasions. Take, for example, the time when 50 Cent was filming the music video for Inda Club. Out of nowhere, someone yelled, "Suge Knight is here." That single sentence threw the entire set into chaos. Suge showed up with about 30 men, reportedly members of a Mexican gang.
He just lights the cigar, and it's the about Suge. He light the cigar, and he trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody outside. This is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real 50 outside.
It was a classic Suge move, rolling up with
They said before, Suge come somewhere, Suge Knight come on a set somewhere, and everybody act like they didn't saw King Kong. And everybody yelling like, King Kong is here or something. Suge is here. And the place started clearing out and all that. What the hell? Yeah, but this is the reputation that he had. He had individuals in the industry, Buffalo, scared to death. Suge Knight had individuals in the industry scared to death everywhere, all over the industry. They were all afraid of him. But I'm not surprised that Eminem was prepared to stand up to Suge Knight if it comes to that, particularly since he has this backup. But of course, Suge Knight has plenty of backup as well.
The squad, trying to intimidate everyone on the scene. This was how Suge operated, always ready to pull up unannounced, flex his influence, and remind everyone that he was still a force to be reckoned with. Amidst this tension, Eminem was also present at the video shoot. True to form, Eminem did not back down.
This is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real These niggas 50 niggas outside, what's up?
Then there's the story from the 2001 Source Awards, which could have gone south real fast. Eminem was there performing with his group, D12, and like any major awards show, the vibe was already tense. Normally, artists could have their bodyguards nearby at these events, but for some reason, the rules that night required bodyguards to sit separately from the artists. That left M in a vulnerable spot, which Suge and his crew didn't hesitate to exploit.
M was walking to his seat, I'm standing off to the side, and M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, something ain't right.
According to Eminem's former bodyguard, Big Naz, things got sketchy fast. M ended up surrounded by a group of intimidating guys wearing red shirts, a clear signal they were affiliated with the Bloods, the gang Suge Knight was known to have ties to. Big Naz quickly realized something was off and sprinted across the venue to get to Eminem. He said it was obvious these guys had been sent by Suge.
He said, death row, motherfucker, this death row about, this death row life. I was like, death row, what does it got to do with him? He said, hey man, Suge sent him a message.
Things between Suge Knight and Eminem escalated to a whole new level during a crazy incident in Hawaii.
This is how he gets the reputation. This is why individuals are afraid of him. You know, he has this reputation of hanging Vanilla Ice over the balcony. I've been hearing that story for years. Vanilla Ice said that incident did not transpire quite like that, but that something did indeed happen when Suge came trying to get him to sign over the paperwork or what have you. And so Suge has this reputation of putting hits out on people, beating people up, having people stomped out, has big gorilla type individuals walking with him, 30 individuals wherever he goes. He's sitting there like a big old mob boss with the big cigar. He's a humongous individual. I was in the LA County Jail with Suge Knight, and he's big. So yeah, individuals are scared to death.
According to Eminem's former bodyguard, Big Naz, there was some serious intel that Suge had plans to harm Eminem during an event that was supposed to be nothing more than a casual getaway.
He's probably just picking on Eminem. What beef does he really have with him? He's upset with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre didn't sign Eminem and 50 Cent. So Suge, he just wants to push his weight around. Say, I run this industry, you sign with me, you be with me, you do what I say do. You bring all of the client, all of the money to my organization, to my corporation. And he's in the industry scaring the bejesus out of everyone that's in there that's not in the culture, that's not really about that street life. They're rappers though, they're in the industry, but they're just rapping. They're not really about that life. Suge pulls up with 30 Bloods who look vicious. You see these individuals, they pulling up on Eminem. The bodyguard had to run over there and try to save him. Eminem had already got extorted by the Crips. It's bad for these. Being a rapper is the most dangerous profession in the world.
This wasn't just some vague low-key threat. Apparently, Suge sent more than 50 of his guys all the way from Los Angeles to Hawaii. Their goal? To disrupt what should have been a relaxed gathering with Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. What was supposed to be a peaceful vacation turned into anything but. The entire vibe flipped the moment they touched down. Instead of sunbathing and sipping cocktails, the group found themselves on high alert, bracing for a possible confrontation. Everyone involved, Eminem, Snoop, Dre, and their wives, had to gear up like they were heading into battle. Bulletproof vests became part of their daily wardrobe, and firearms were kept close by just in case. The situation was so tense that even the Honolulu Police Department had to get involved, assigning officers to shadow Eminem and the rest of the crew for protection. Big Naz later opened up about just how surreal the experience was.
So you had to call the police. They called the cops to help them. They all the way in Hawaii. Suge sent 50 individuals to Hawaii, allegedly, according to this narration, to harass these individuals, scare them, whatever, assault them. They didn't see these individuals there shadowing them. They didn't got spooked. They got weapons nearby, and now they didn't have to call the police and say, man, we need some help for y'all to escort us around Hawaii because this old crazy dude out here in LA is tripping. Oh, man.
We thought it was going to be a vacation, he said, but it turned into a huge problem. We had our wives with us, some people even brought their kids. The second we got off the plane, it was chaos. Honolulu police had to escort us, and we were rushed to a transport van with everyone, kids, wives, and all. However, despite all this tension, it's highly likely that if Suge Knight had ever laid a hand on Eminem, he would have faced serious consequences. Thanks to Eminem's connection to the Samoan gang, a group even Suge was known to tread carefully around.
I was like, what's up? Suge Knight scared of you. Suge Knight scared of you. And then everyone I talked to, man, is Suge really this? Really
Why would he be scared of you, man?
But when
I'm Samoan, man. I don't give a I don't care. You King Kong, you Godzilla, you gonna get your ass beat.
And Suge Knight definitely had a good reason to be cautious of the Samoans. Like we mentioned earlier, these guys weren't playing around. They were known for being one of the most serious and dangerous gangs out there. The gang, known as Sons of Samoa, SOS, got its start back in the mid-1980s in Long Beach, California. Over time, though, their reach expanded way beyond that. By the 1990s, they had spread to Hawaii and across various parts of California, including key areas in the Bay Area like San Jose, Oakland, and Hayward. Incidentally, these were the same cities where members of the Samoan family lived, which only added to their deep connections and influence in the region. The police in Washington state had a lot to say about the SOS gang and their reputation. They were well known for using intimidation tactics to get what they wanted. Extortion was also a common move, and they weren't shy about pulling off drug ripoffs or even committing when things escalated.
What kind of weapons do the gangs use? Your gang, for example.
38, 22, 357, 9, AK.
It's pretty heavy sort of artillery.
Yeah.
These guys weren't the type to back down from a fight either. They'd throw hands.
They've been talking on the internet. He's sitting there explaining exactly what type of guns they're using in their gang on camera. They've been talking like this. But the SOS, the individuals from SOS, they are some structured, serious individuals. Let's just say they did, started spreading out in the LA area, and they were a force to be reckoned with. Not in past tense, they still are pretty much, I'm sure. And I've done time with a lot of these individuals, and the Samoans are strong. They're good people. They mind their own business. They just don't want to be bothered. But if you mess with one of them, then they will defend themselves. But Suge Knight being afraid of them and them protecting Eminem against the Crips, I'm not sure how they were able to do that. If they're trying to extort them, I don't know how they were able to step in and stop that.
Gang that crossed their path. Their most common rivals, though, were the Tongan Crips gangsters, which only added to the tension on the streets. When it came to their image, the SOS gang used a few specific symbols to represent themselves. One of their most recognizable signs was the Seattle Mariners logo, which they'd use on hats or clothing. They also had unique hand signals to show affiliation. These weren't just for show. These symbols carried weight, especially in gang-heavy areas where every sign and symbol sent a message. According to Long Beach detective Norm Sorensen, who spoke to the Los Angeles Times in 1990, the Sons of Samoa had a reputation for being an incredibly tough group, especially when they had been drinking or were under the influence of drugs. Sorensen explained that their tolerance for conflict was basically non-existent. If someone so much as looked at them the wrong way, a fight was almost guaranteed to break out. He described them as the type of gang that would fight at the drop of a hat, and their unpredictability made them even more dangerous. Their violent reputation wasn't just talk either. Stories about the SOS gang's willingness to fight and use violence spread quickly, earning them a lot of respect and fear on the streets. Whether it was intimidation, enforcing their dominance, or straight up brawling with rival gangs, SOS had a no-nonsense approach to handling business. They made sure everyone knew they weren't a group to mess with.
Did you catch this? 100% Samoan. Lift up your shirt, bro. Lift up your shirt.
He said when they was drinking, they really started tripping. Damn.
Lift up your shirt, show your tap. Look at that. Samoan.
One thing that made the Sons of Samoa, SOS gang, stand out was how different they were from other gangs in certain ways. Unlike most gangs, they didn't operate completely outside of traditional society. There wasn't any formal initiation process like the brutal hazing or jumping in rituals that are common in a lot of gangs. Joining SOS was more organic. Samoans came together out of necessity, driven by the need to protect themselves and each other in communities where they were a small minority. To put things into perspective, back in 2000, the entire Samoan population in Oakland was just 614 people. That's only about 0.15% of the city's population. It's no wonder they felt the need to stick together when they were such a tiny community compared to others. A friend of the Samoan family once described the gang in court records, saying it had a heavy presence in areas like San Jose and even in Samoan churches. It was in these churches that members of SOS would talk about values like respecting others, especially elders, a big part of Samoan culture. But outside of church, it was a whole different story. The same guys who were preaching respect and community inside those walls would show a much darker side when they were out in the streets.
I won't hesitate to shoot anyone.
You what?
No, I wouldn't hesitate to shoot anyone if they come and mess with me.
Interestingly, despite how bad SOS could be at times, not everyone saw them purely as a criminal gang. For some, especially other Samoans in the area, SOS was more like a social club that brought the community together. It wasn't just about crime. It was about fostering a sense of ethnic brotherhood and looking out for one another in a world where they felt outnumbered and overlooked. For many, it was less about being a gang in the traditional sense and more about having each other's backs in a hostile environment. In the Bay Area, the Sons of Samoa operated a little differently compared to many other gangs, especially when it came—
Well, that's the same for everything. That's the same for every gang. It's about having one another's back. It's not about conflict. It used to be about that. And it used to be about hatred towards some other so-called op, some other opponent, some phantom enemy. It was just about the area that you grew up in and protecting your community. But now it has devolved into something else.
To the infamous color wars that defined so much of gang life in places like Los Angeles during the 1990s. While the Bloods and Crips were going at it full force in LA, SOS in the Bay didn't seem to take those rivalries as seriously. They weren't as focused on the traditional red versus blue battles that defined so many street wars. Instead, their focus was more about their own alliances, survival, and controlling their territory. But that doesn't mean they weren't dangerous. In fact, their willingness to adapt and align with other groups when it suited them made them even more unpredictable. For example, federal prosecutors in San Jose revealed that a subset of SOS operating out of Monterey, California, had formed an alliance with a local Norteno crew called the Emder Squad. Together, these groups weren't just causing trouble, they were escalating things to a deadly level. In 2017, SOS and the Emder Squad reportedly teamed up to target rival Sureño members. They weren't just making threats or getting into small scuffles, they were actively working together to take out their enemies. In one case, they collaborated on a planned Emder of rival Sureños, showing just how tight their alliance had become. They even carried out drive-by shootings, with reports detailing how they fired multiple shots from a revolver into a Hayward home where Sureño members were staying. And it wasn't just about guns and shootings. SOS had no problem resorting to more old-school methods of intimidation and robbery. They were known to walk right up to someone, deliver a knockout punch, often referred to as the one-hitter quitter, and then strip the victim of their valuables right there on the spot.
The one-hitter quitter. That's not where the term originated from. But yes, some of these individuals were violent individuals. That's what gangs are. That's what they do. The SOS individuals were violent individuals. So yes, okay, the Booya Tribe was connected to the Samoan gangs in LA, and thus Eminem had these connections, and so he was protected apparently from Suge Knight and from the LA Crips, who were extorting him, apparently, allegedly, until these individuals stepped in. But yes, of course, they're violent. They're some big individuals. And if they're out there in the streets, particularly the streets of LA, Long Beach, you're going to have to show your grit as well, or you're going to be in trouble. They're going to have to be a violent gang, essentially, if they're going to be a gang amongst all of them gangs out there who are indeed violent. If you don't keep up with that, then you're going to disappear quickly.
Wallets, shoes, whatever they wanted, they took. The people they targeted would often wake up dazed, beaten, and completely robbed. all while SOS walked away unbothered. One of the most chilling incidents involving the Sons of Samoa gang was the tragic emder of 25-year-old Nolan Pamintuan, a young man who was on the brink of one of the happiest days of his life. On May 17, 1996, Nolan was preparing for his wedding to his fiancée, Rowena Pinello, which was set to take place the very next day in Daly City near San Francisco. He had planned everything down to the last detail, taking an active role in organizing the big day. That evening, after spending time at his parents' house in Hayward, he had a list of errands to run for the following morning: booking a hotel room for after the wedding, picking up tuxedos for himself and his groomsmen, and helping his Aunt Edith with wedding preparations. But instead of waking up to a day of joy and celebration, Nolan became the victim of an unspeakable nightmare. That night, as he stepped out of his car in Hayward, he caught the attention of a group of men driving by in a stolen van. Timing in this case was everything. If Nolan had been just 2 minutes faster or slower, he might have avoided their notice altogether. But as fate would have it, the men saw him, targeted him on the spot, and decided to rob him. At gunpoint, Nolan was forced into their van and driven around the Bay Area while his captors stripped him of all his possessions. As if that wasn't terrifying enough, the situation took an even darker turn. The men began arguing among themselves about who would off Nolan. Despite Nolan's desperate pleas for his life, their decision was merciless. He was shot once in the chest with a sawed-off shotgun and left to die in the middle of a street in Hayward. His lifeless body was discovered shortly after midnight, on what was supposed to be his wedding day. The news of Nolan's death sent shockwaves through the community.
That's cold. Shot him in the chest with a bulldozer and threw him out the car, basically left him in the streets to die on his wedding day. On his wedding day? Oh, man, I remember that story, actually. I think I covered that. That's crazy. Rest in peace to that individual, man.
Devastating his friends, family, and especially his fiancée Rowena. She was informed of his emder just half an hour before the wedding was scheduled to begin, turning what should have been the happiest day of their lives into a day of unimaginable grief. What made the crime even more senseless was how sloppy the perpetrators were. They left clues everywhere, holding on to easily identifiable stolen items, keeping clothing splattered with Nolan's blood, and making no real effort to cover their tracks. Detectives had no trouble piecing the case together, and within 10 days, 4 suspects were arrested. The group included 2 juveniles, an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old man, who was believed to be the shooter. As it turned out, 3 of them were members of the Sons of Samoa gang. During the trial, 2 of the suspects cooperated with authorities, turning informants in exchange for 16-year prison sentences. The other 2...
Of course they did. Of course they started to snitch. They turned government operatives, ops. They started snitching and still got 16 years. They started telling. But 2 of these individuals were juvenile. Arrested 4 of them. 10 days later, had all 4 of them rounded up because they said that they left clues during the case. They didn't know what they were doing. But dang, man, why kill a dude? You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that either. You already took his stuff. You got his stuff. He's begging for his life. Just let him go. It's a robbery. I mean, you're killing him so that you don't leave a witness, so that you don't get caught. You got caught anyway 10 days later. You didn't clean up, you still got caught. Jeez.
Including the suspected shooter, were convicted and remain locked up to this day. Yet, despite their reputation for violence, stories have surfaced over the years that paint a more complicated picture of the gang. Some say SOS wasn't all bad and that there were times when they stepped up to help people in need, sometimes even those who weren't affiliated with the gang. And from what we now know, Eminem was one of the individuals who benefited from their support.
Yeah, he did. All right, there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments, man. SOS, strong individual, strong gang, good people. I know some of them personally. They're good people, man. And they had Eminem's back, as we see. He was being extorted, apparently, by the Crips in L.A. And many individuals have went through this. We just seen the rapper Boosie make a video saying that when he goes to L.A., he takes 10 people with him, 10 hitters. And that even then, he's in and out, takes care of his business, and he's gone because he said that he knows personally many individuals that have gotten robbed in L.A. Celebrities, rappers, whatever, have gotten robbed. Not talking about checking in and paying to be out there and all that, just straight up rob for the jury and everything else. So it's dangerous and not surprising that they would press up on someone like Eminem and say, yeah, you're not going to be out here. You can't be out here without checking in, without paying us or whatever. And he had to go and get some help from the Samoans, and I'm not sure exactly, again, how they were able to stifle that situation, but I'll take them at their word. Apparently they were able to save Eminem from these monstrous Crips and stop them from getting him to check in and extorting him. Okay. It's dangerous. It's dangerous in LA, as it is everywhere. It is everywhere, particularly in certain parts of certain areas and cities and other cities and states. It's dangerous. In other countries, it's dangerous. It's dangerous everywhere around the freaking world. You have to be careful everywhere at the end of the day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.